This short revision video will unpack what is typically considered to be the most significant theme in Macbeth: ambition. Ambition can be defined as a desire to be successful. It can relate to many things, such as career, money, or even social status. But in Macbeth, the main characters, Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, are both ambitious for power. And in medieval Scotland, the position of greatest power was the king. Macbeth is a play about the dangers of unchecked ambition. Although it is the prophecies of the Weird Sisters that set events in motion, it is the ambition and desire for power of both Macbeth and Lady Macbeth that arguably caused their brief rise to power and tragic downfall. In terms of writer's intention, Shakespeare is clearly interested in ambition as a force for evil. He takes an honoured and respected warrior in Macbeth and charts his tragic downfall through an escalating series of murders which drive him to fear and paranoia. Meanwhile, Lady Macbeth, whom at first appears more resolute than her husband, quickly begins to unravel as she realises the precariousness of their position and fails to suppress the guilt within her. So the play functions as a warning against overreaching ambition, exploring the danger of trying to achieve success without any moral conscience. Unchecked ambition, according to Shakespeare at least, upsets the very fabric of humanity and society. Now I will unpack some important plot points and quotations in the play which link to the theme of ambition. After receiving the Weird Sisters' prophecy that he will be king in Act 1, Scene 3, Macbeth reasons that, "If chance will have me king, why chance may crown me without my stir." Simply put, maybe I can become king without taking action. At this early stage, Shakespeare shows that Macbeth is ambitious for the crown, but is not yet willing to do anything to bring it about himself. This characterises Macbeth as both ambitious, but also cautious. However, in the very next scene, Macbeth arrives as Duncan names his son Malcolm as successor to the throne. As soon as Macbeth hears this, his mind races to consider that both Malcolm and Duncan stand in his way if he wants to become king. In a dramatic aside, Shakespeare reveals Macbeth's darkening thoughts. He states, "The Prince of Cumberland. That is a step on which I must fall down, or else o'erleap, for in my way it lies." The word o'erleap translates as to jump over, which creates imagery of obstruction. Macbeth is seeing Malcolm and Duncan as obstacles to be overcome in his path to becoming king. Macbeth's ambition for the crown seems to be already twisting his awareness of right and wrong. Ominously, he then calls on the stars, often used in Shakespeare as a metaphor for fate or God, to hide your fires. Let not light see my black and deep desires. Here Macbeth seems to admit his thoughts are turning treasonous, and that his ambition must remain a secret. Whether or not he is experiencing guilt at this moment, or merely a concern for secrecy, is open to interpretation. Lady Macbeth's introduction in Act 1, Scene 5 also has strong overtones of ambition. As she reads a letter from Macbeth informing her of the prophecies, she quickly makes an assessment of her husband's capability for treachery, stating that Macbeth is not without ambition, but without the illness should attend it. In her view, Macbeth is ambitious, but lacks illness, which might translate as darkness or the lack of morality, which he needs to be able to murder Duncan. Lady Macbeth then calls on evil spirits in a strange speech filled with disturbing imagery, and asks them to unsex me here and fill me from the crown to the toe, top full of direst cruelty. She decides she must be the more ambitious of the two, and is willing to commune with the spirits of darkness in order to gain the power and will of a man, that she might convince her husband to commit treason. Lady Macbeth's ambition would have been disturbing to a Jacobean audience, since at the time women were considered to be the weaker sex. Shakespeare upends the gender expectations of time further when Macbeth decides they will proceed no further in this business, because of the great esteem he is held in by the king and others. Instead of agreeing, Lady Macbeth chastises him, using the simile, like the poor cat in the adage, which compares Macbeth to a cat that wants a fish but will not wet its paws. Metaphorically, she suggests Macbeth lacks sufficient ambition to get his hands dirty. It is her mocking insults which spur Macbeth on to agree to the murder. So in Act 1, it is Lady Macbeth who appears the more ambitious of the two. Things quickly change once the murder has taken place, though. By Act 3, Lady Macbeth is queen and has decided that naught's had, all's spent, where our desire is got without content. Recognising that their ambition has resulted in a fearful and unsatisfied existence. A structural shift in power occurs, and Macbeth takes control, ordering the murder of Banquo, whose children the witches prophesied would become kings. Macbeth's ambition appears boundless, and he will not be satisfied unless he secures the throne for his offspring as well. Shakespeare emphasises the corrupting nature of unbounded ambition, since Macbeth is now willing to murder his best friend Banquo to retain his position. As the play draws to the final act, Lady Macbeth is driven to her death by guilt, whilst Macbeth appears to have lost all of his humanity. In Act 5, Scene 5, his response to the news that his wife is dead is to utter a bitter and emotionless soliloquy, where he claims that life is but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Shakespeare uses metaphors to compare life to a shadow, a bad actor, and a pointless story told by an idiot, which present Macbeth as desperate and poisoned by his own success. The moral here is that when ambition results in immoral behaviour, there is no happy ending. Shakespeare wants the audience to recognise that Macbeth's ambition has led him to losing any sense of value or purpose in life. So the play as a whole functions as a warning against taking immoral actions to achieve success. Too much ambition will, according to the play Macbeth, result in your downfall.